Good day guys, my name is Lord Tomo. Welcome again to another Sonic the Hedgehog toy item collect review. As you know, I'm Lord Tomo with the good old blue star here. Sonic the Hedgehog, the French Hedgehog, guys. That is the new in for it. French Hedgehogs. Let's get into the actual review, shall we? This is Sonic Boom Shadow the Hedgehog plush review. Now, the person knows who he is. He's requested this review, and to be completely honest, I'll be dragging my feet in reviewing this, not because of the lack of enthusiasm towards this plush. I think it's pretty nice for what it's worth, but for the simple fact that I'm moving houses and most of my stuff are in storage temporarily until that happens. But that's going to be a different story and a different video, entirely different. Keep you guys up to scratch with that sort of stuff. But suffice to say, he is the my official Shadow the Hedgehog plush review of the Sonic Boom range, which I think is pretty decent. Not the most favorite series of the Tommy series, but it is pretty decent within itself. So for those who may or may not know, Tommy has released various ranges and of plushes and merchandising, but you could probably argue for both plushes and merchandising, and one of the ranges is this particular range. I think this is the 3.5 inch plush. They did a Shadow, they did it Sticks, they did a Sonic, and various other characters. I'm going to say this straight off the bat. This plush in itself isn't bad. However, I'm not a big fan of the series as a whole. So it's not to say, so any criticism that I may or may not have of this particular plush, it's not to say this plush individually is bad. I just don't think the series, the entire series range of this particular series isn't the most eye-catching. I'm a big fan, and this is just me just talking right now, I'm a big fan of this super deformed head series of the Sonic Boom series. I'm absolutely loving it. Out of all the plushes that I possibly have, that's probably the most, oh my god, adorable thing I ever have, including friends of mine. They'd be like, what the hell is this? And I'll be like, yeah, you know, this is when they take a bit of the old ganji and don't do drugs, kids, do not do drugs. But essentially, they did drugs and their heads became big. I love that series. If you want to check out those series, check out the plush review series. I have a few of them popped up. But enough chitter chatter, let's get into the actual review itself. So for the most part, they did capture the likeness and sculpt of the Shadow the Hedgehog character. Now there is a few setbacks, drawbacks to say the least, which I'm not a big fan of, and I will address them accordingly. But let's go through the head sculpts and make our way all the way down as per the norm. Now for the most part, they actually do grab his angsty Shadow the Hedgehog face, you know, the whole badass, like, what are you looking at me for? I'm the Knight, I am Bane, where is Shadow? I am Shadow, life is but a dream, sort of look to it. And I think it works for it, to be honest. To be directly honest with you, it works for it. Shadow, for the most part, except the Jazzware Shadow the Hedgehog, which was just poorly created compared to her. I should have brought it out to compare it, but it's in one of my boxes, so I can't compare it. But I have reviewed the Shadow the Hedgehog Jazzware version. Check it out in my channel list, of course. But this, comparatively speaking to the Jazzware version, is 10 times better. Is it the best Shadow overall plush based on the sculpt and everywhere design? No. I'd argue that a different Shadow from a different series, especially GE, and also a different manufacturer. They sold it as a Sega Prize, where they made. I've reviewed that as well. I just don't know from the top of my head. So there are better versions of Shadows the Hedgehog plushes. This just isn't the worst in terms of the scale. So for the face likeness, they've captured it perfectly. It does suffer from the gnome of this range, which is the nose cannot be systematically pointed forward unless you, I don't know, stitch it around or something, so it's always arcing or curving to the opposite direction. It is what it is. I mean, it doesn't bother me. If you told me when the first day I picked it up, yeah, it would. Now I'm kind of like, yeah, you know, it is what it is. You got to understand that this plush series or range, as I like to call it, I don't like to call it series, is marketed for a different demographic. Now let me preface that by saying that with all toy manufacturers, there's what you would class as top tier, middle tier, and just, I like to call them lower tier or throwaway tier. Tiers where people can just pick it up, it's a full price, and they can say it's part of the collection. I'm not saying this is bad, I'm just saying this is would be the lower tier. Now that I need to emphasize this. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just got to understand there are different echelons of tiers in terms of manufacturing. If you want to spend $100 and get the best of the best, you're gonna have to expect the best of the best. This has cost me about $13. I think it's pretty cheap comparatively speaking to the other plushes that I've purchased throughout my life. So it is what it is. So for the most part, that's his nose. Am I bummed for it? I would have preferred it, but you're not paying top dollar for these sort of plushes, so you have to understand that, you know, there are going to be small shortcomings. Of course, it is what it is. Now, they do a few things which I think is pretty phenomenal. Now, it's very hard to see from my actual cam, but they'll probably do justice. The eyes themselves are pretty much all stitched on. It's not glue based, sticker based like GE used to do, or for those who know about my GE reviews, my GE Grain Instinct Entertainment reviews. So these eyes actually stitched on from all the red pupils, the red eyes and the inner black and the inner white pupils are all stitched on, which I think is phenomenal. I'm not too sure on how they made it in the factories. I would imagine that it's kind of like press made or something like line based. I'm not too sure. I've never worked in one of those factories, but I would imagine from a mass produced point of view, this might cost a little more. I don't know. I'm guessing, of course. Now, of course, expanding on that is his, I guess, what would you call this? His eye sockets. His eye sockets is just one material, not stitched on. It's just one material forward, and it's stitched on from the outer curves of the skull itself, or the head sculpt of itself, which isn't bad. Now, this little dark bit, which I'll probably call his eyebrows, I mean, unless you want to call it his outer eye sockets, I don't know. It's just one material. It's not stitched on. It feels like it's just a generic material which is pretty much stitched from the underlining, and it just gives it the curve effect. From a distance, it actually does what it's meant to do, give it that likeness to Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, am I going to be nitpicking and say, oh my god, why isn't it stitched 100% like his eyes? Doesn't need to be. It does what it does, and it works well with it. Of course, his actual mouth here, I hope this shows properly. It's not a material based, it is stitched based, which I think is another great superb attention to details in that regards, especially for its price range, I think. Of course, the only major nitpick of the face particular is just the nose, but if you can live by that, I mean, the overall likeness is 100% awesome. You have, of course, his little ears, which are exactly the same on either side. It's just a black material with a little yellow bit inside. It does what it does, and it's superb. Now, one of the major drawbacks, I wouldn't say drawbacks, well, one of the major challenges when creating a Shadow the Hedgehog plush, unlike, for example, tails, knuckles, and all that sort of stuff, is he has various color differentiate. That's not even a word. Very colored variants, which makes him a little more unique, especially from a manufacturer's point of view. That being said, you can see from the actual top itself, you have all his, like, on his quills anyway, the red materials that they used. Now, it doesn't look like it's one solid piece from what I can tell. It looks like it's just a material which stitched on from either black side of the end, and it just gives it the unifying look that it's meant to represent Shadow the Hedgehog, which is a major plus. I say that it's not a one major piece is because it's hard to tell, but you have like little black stitching in there, and from the markings of it, it looks like it's pretty much, it's one of those material techniques where you get two materials, you have a little bit of excess, and you just connect it from the bottom. So if you put it, it looks seamless, but it's actually on the bottom stitched in. I only know that because I did home economic studies, aka sewing, amongst other feminine little activities in primary school. The more you know. So I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that's how the techniques. And it is superb because it is on every single quill on his actual side. Of course, you don't have it on his little wings, as I like to call them, but it is his bottom half of the quills, and it is what it is. And it looks pretty funny. It looks like it's either, you know, big pimples coming out of him, or it's kind of like little flapping demonic little quills nonetheless. But it does what it does, and it's superb. There is a great level of oomph to it, in that there's well enough stuffing, as you can see by the symmetry on the actual head sculpting, and as well as his muscles itself. So it is definitely not flat, and it's definitely not over extrusion. And I'm just making words up. I think it's not over extruding itself right there, so which gives it a more symmetrical look to it. So For example, the Jazzware, it was literally just flat, and that bothered me to no ends. But this one, of course, it gives a more of a prominence look to it, which I think is awesome. So overall, the head sculpt is superb. It does have one major default. I cannot string words together. It does have one major defect, and it's always a complaint that I've always had with plushies. GE tends to do it perfectly, but for every other manufacturer, aka Tommy, they always tend to put the little tag on a very annoying area. In this case, in its ear. I wouldn't have an issue with this if it was on, for example, his little hashtag on the side, because it would be there. But they always throw it in the actual most obnoxious area possible. Why? I know why. It's purely for advertising or purpose reasons. If you have a plush and you have the big hashtag, and parents would be like, oh look, it's that Sonic character you like, Billy, and Billy would be like, yes it is, and they'll buy it. I get it, I truly do. From a collector's point of view, it's annoying. It is what it is. Is it a flaw? I think it is, but is it really? I don't think it is, because it's from a marketing point of view. Like, they don't make this for people like me. In hindsight, they make it for the mass populace, right? And the mass people that want to buy this, and I understand that. Obviously, if they send me an email saying, hey, where would you like this pin, I'll tell them up front, but obviously you can understand, you know. We're not dealing with the most expensive quality item here. I get it. Anyway, so as per the norm, you have a picture of the new-ish Sonic the Hedgehog, and you have Sonic Boom, and you have the character Shadow. One of my major preferences is I would have preferred a picture with Shadow instead of Sonic. It is what it is. Or at least maybe two characters at the same time. You have a massive amount of obligatory information, which I'm not going to go read through, and it's at the far back as well. And that is the company that currently makes it, Tommy, which currently has the licensing rights to making plushies. So GE Entertainment no longer has that right, which is a major bummer. Well, we'll see what they do with it. Now, as we get to the actual belly, this is one of my most biggest pet peeves. If you look at his chest does not look like a chest piece. It doesn't have to be fluffy, but at least don't make it look like it's just a standard material cut into a triangle, plastered on his chest and stitched on like a mutational thing coming out of his chest. I am dying, so Shadow claims as he hovers. I don't know what I'm saying. But his chest piece, they needed that, but at the same time I feel like it's just so poorly done. It's just so horrendous. I mean, I wish they did more to it, but that's it. His actual body is extremely well staffed for its size, considering, of course, and that goes throughout his legs and his feet and, of course, his hand. Now, both his hands are exactly the same, so we'll review one as per the norm. Now, his actual handpiece, from what I can tell, is a static fabric material, which basically means it's kind of like a print-on material, right? So all these details, you know, his bracelet, his gloves, the inner markings of his actual, it's hard to really say, but he's like the little black lines. They're kind of like two lines that coincide with one another parallel. It's literally just one material wrapped around, as you can see from his actual hand there, wrapped around and stitched on to give it his more prominent look. And of course they do the typical, which isn't an issue, I'm just saying typical because it's a typical thing they do. Is they fold his fingers and just stitched on 3 lines to give it his signature fingers, and of course that's a little thumb. That is a standard. It's not a pet peeve. It's to be expected. I mean, if they go out of the way to do each individual fingers, I think that's a bit freaky, to be honest, but it is what it is. To be honest, I have no issue with the fact that this material in itself is just literally a painted on material which just wraps around, because for its size it would cost way too much, I would imagine, to do individuals, you know, materials and wrappings and all that sort of stuff. So this works well for what it is. It's exactly the same on either hand, and his both hands are pretty much clenched together so he can punch Shadow in the face, because nobody likes Sonic anymore, for I am the ultimate life form. So he would say, if he could talk and if my imagination never ran rampant like that. As you can see, I'm going to of course talk about one foot because they're exactly the same as the other. Extremely well staffed. It once again uses the same technique that he hands. It's literally just one material which is pretty much already pre-painted or pre-pressed on, and it's just literally wrapped around, of course, the bottom half of his heel, just to give it his more prominent look, as you can tell from that little stitching effect. And it's exactly the same on the other leg. And the only major difference is they put another piece on the bottom heel, the bottom sole of his foot, to basically just seal it off and just pad it up and make him all stuffy Shadow as it is. For a very I'll probably argue it's a very basic technique, a very easy technique, and it's a technique that works extremely well, considering the fact that the level of detail they can actually get away with is phenomenal. I mean, would I have preferred, you know, if he's, for example, his shoes were more movable and not less stitched on, and you can like grab maybe the sides of the shoes? Probably yeah, but considering his size and his price, you make do with what you have, and what you have is honestly pretty awesome. That's his bag. It's as black can be. Add racist remark. No, don't add that. Do not add racist remarks. But it is a superb plushie. Look how much I get it for, $13. Is it rare or common? It's probably common. I still find it every now and then. 1 star of 10 out of rarity. Where did I purchase it? I purchased it from a website called toywiz.com, which has not in any way, shape or form endorsed this commercial review, not commercial, because we have rich commercial. Doesn't endorse me. I just buy most of my stuff from them because honestly it is phenomenal, some of the stuff that I can pick up there at a decent price. That actually sounds like I'm trying to sell that website. Purchase it wherever you want. I saw this on Amazon, I saw this on eBay. I've seen a few pages, Instagram pages where they've purchased it, you know, like Toys R Us, some mom and pop shops. So you can purchase it all over the place. In Australia, of course, we have no such thing because nobody likes Sonic down here. I don't know why. I even have trouble collecting Power Ranger stuff here. Surprise, surprise there. Is it worth it? I honestly think it is. It does have shortcomings, of course, and I have seen some versions of this where there's a few more hiccups than I would imagine, especially on my one. He has a few hiccups chest in various other places. But honestly, for the price, I know depending on who you are, I mean, there's way more expensive plushes out there, and for what it's worth, I think it's quite affordable. I think it's quite decent, and it's definitely something for an entry point if you're a youngin', if you're a kid, for example, to start collecting something. I don't expect kids who like Sonic to buy like $80 plushies. That's not justifiable in anybody's mind, you know. Of course, you know, it is what it is. You got to have entry points for people who collect Sonic, and you got to have, for example, I guess more expensive items. And I'm not saying this is, but more expensive items for people who are more enthusiastic. That's not even a word. More enthusiastic about the fandom, of course. So for what it is and for entry point, I think it's great. Does it have shortcomings? Yes, but for the price, for its availability, it's for its entry point, I'm more than happy to have a look at it. Guys, let me know what you think about this. I want to say thank you for everybody who's checking out my reviews, and I'll probably do an update video as to what's happening with my channel and all the fun stuff coming up to it. Take care, speed on, until next time. Peace.